Welcome to the Fit Strong Women Over 50 podcast, episode number 196. Hi, I'm Jill. Thank you for joining us today. Normally, Chris and I tell you about the Becoming Elli community, but Chris couldn't make it today, so I'll just go over it. Chris and I decided to name our community Becoming Elli because Elli was the Norse goddess of aging who beat Thor in a wrestling match. We thought, we want to be like Elli, fit and strong as we age. You can find out more about the Becoming Elli community and this podcast at our website, becomingelli.com. Elli is spelled E-L-L-I. I have some exciting news to share. If you listened to our spring break episode, you know that Chris and I asked if anyone would like to join us with this podcast. And we were delighted when Maria Molvin contacted us and said she was interested in joining the Becoming Elli team. It's rather nice to be a team instead of just two of us. So Maria was on the podcast over 2 years ago in April 2024. You can check out episode 152 if you want to hear that discussion. Maria and I worked together earlier in our career, so we've known each other a long time. Welcome, Maria. It's good to have you.
Thanks. I'm glad to be here.
And I want to say that Chris is as excited that you're here as I am, so I'm sorry she couldn't join us today, but she's happy. Can you start with maybe just telling us a bit about yourself?
Sure. So, although I was born in Michigan, I grew up in Northeast Ohio, which is in the US. And I like to say I grew up out in the country. We had a horse, a sheep, and some peacocks. I have a literature degree and communication arts degree. So I do love to read, and I've worked in corporate jobs through much of my career, primarily in instructional design and training. But I always enjoyed the technology side of things, and I found out I kind of had an knack for it. So I moved to more, I guess I would say, behind the scenes work, managing a learning management system that delivers online training. And finally, in the last couple of years, I've focused on managing HR systems that manage employee information. So I do have the dreaded desk job. So I try to avoid sitting all the time. I do have a standing desk, which is kind of nice.
Oh, that's nice.
And then I live with my husband. We have a lovely property with lots of trees and love to be outside. And I do get to spend a lot of time in all of our wonderful local parks that we have around here.
Yes, we do have lots of good parks with trails for hiking.
We do.
All right, so you heard us on our last episode talking about needing help, and you contacted us. I'm just going to ask you what prompted you to volunteer.
Well, so as you mentioned, we worked together in the past. I heard about the podcast pretty early on and have been listening since the beginning. And what I like is that the goals of the show and the Becoming Elli community really align with things I'm interested in, especially regarding my health, like nutrition and healthy eating. I was lucky enough to grow up with parents who kind of focused on that and emphasizing fruits and vegetables. And we had a garden growing up. And the other thing is I've always been active. Again, if I kind of go back to my family, we were, and all of us still are pretty active. Although I think a lot of what is discussed on the podcast really kind of goes back to the basics, which is a good thing. There's also always new information, new ways of looking at important aspects of healthy aging coming out all the time. And I'm looking forward to helping others learn as I learn.
Okay, great. That is one of the best things about working on the podcast is you get to talk to some really interesting people, and I always am learning something. I think that's probably the strongest thing about doing this.
Yes, and I know with a lot of the past guests you've had, I either follow them on social media, just I've really been interested in a lot of what they have to say and good ideas.
I know, so you do a lot of things to keep yourself healthy. What are some of your favorite physical activities?
So I like to walk and hike. I have to admit, I was never one to be involved in organized sports. That's not my thing, but I've always been, like I said, pretty active. I am lucky that I have a home gym where I can use an elliptical and a stationary bike, and I also like to lift weights.
And you do that all in your home gym.
I am able to do that, yes.
That's nice. My biggest problem with the home gym is skipping it. Like, that I so I end up going to a gym because I go there and then I do my workout.
And in the past, I have gone to a gym and belonged to a gym, and I did enjoy that because I got into the habit of right after work going, and I think a lot of it had to do when I started during the pandemic, started working at home,
Uh,
and so I did. I got some equipment that I could have, and what I did in the past and we have now is it's actually in a bedroom, and I have to walk by it all the time. So so when you see it there, I think you're less likely to just avoid it, and luckily, I do have a spouse who, encourages me and helps me make time and reminds me that I will feel better if I do a workout, even if it's short.
yeah, that's true, yeah.
Yeah.
But you've never been a runner or I know you at least used to bicycle.
I did bicycle in the past, and I enjoyed that. I think the thing I struggled a little bit with is you either had to load up your bike and drive them somewhere to one of our local parks where we do have some
Right.
really nice paths to ride on, or I had to head out from home and ride on city streets, and I just really didn't like that, especially if I was by myself. So I found that I just wasn't doing it as much as I would have liked, and so I started walking more, and it was easy to do around the neighborhood is get a good walk in.
Right. Getting your bike somewhere is I mean, you can have a bike rack and all that, but you still have to load it up and get it there,
Right.
and it's a challenge. Sometimes that's a bigger workout than anything
Then
else you can do. It's like, "Oh my gosh."
exactly.
I see people have their bikes up on their roofs of their cars, and I wonder, how in the world do you get that up there?
I know in the past I had someone who used to put the bike up there for me so I didn't have to do that because, yeah, I couldn't get it up there.
Right, yeah, yeah. And you were never a runner?
I wasn't. I really never got into running, and I think I was more along I when I was much younger, I did gymnastics, but I know when I had talked, in the past on the podcast, I had talked a little bit about I had a period there where I was actually belly dancing, which was really fun. I probably head more towards the dance side of things. I know, Chris talks about doing line dancing
Yes.
classes and things like that. So I'm hoping maybe when I retire or something like that, and I think it will be a good idea to go back to a gym and start working out with some people. That sounds like a really fun way to.
Yeah, Chris is having a great time, and the sort of funny thing is I have a new next door neighbor, and it turns out she is line dancing with Chris. Like,
Ah,
like, we didn't know each other beforehand. It's just sort of one of those things like, "Oh." So, small world kind of things, but, yeah, the line dancing seems to be very popular right now.
yeah, I think I would enjoy something like that. Right now, I don't know that it fits in with my schedule, but
Right, I get that, yeah. I have never been like a Zumba person, so that kinda dance, not for me, I can't do that. You said you try to eat in a healthy way. Do you follow any kind of food things?
not really. I wouldn't say any kind of special diet. My husband and I both like to cook, so we do try to make a lot of food ourselves and hopefully try to make some leftovers so we aren't cooking every night. But, just try to make sure we're getting a balanced diet of healthy proteins and fruits and vegetables. And I like to have my big salad at lunch when I can. And breakfasts, I kind of go back and forth with. And we both do a bit of food prep. So we have things to eat during the week, especially for breakfast and lunch.
Yeah, that really does help.
Yeah, and just trying to focus, I think, on I don't know if you call it whole foods, but where we can, and yeah, but we don't necessarily. I try not to cut out too many food groups or
Yeah. Yeah, so you're not vegan and you're not keto and you just are eating a I guess what we would call a well-rounded diet.
yes, yes,
It's a challenge sometimes.
it is.
I mean, just getting the produce and getting the I don't know, so it's I find it challenging at times to just eat a good mixture of foods.
Yeah, yeah, and I am lucky. My husband's a teacher, so he gets home earlier, and he does take on a bit of the cooking duties, which is kind of nice. Which also leaves me time after I'm done with work to do my workouts. So that's nice.
That's very nice, yeah. Yeah, very nice to have someone else in the house who likes to cook or does cook.
Yes, yes.
Is there any sort of thing about health, fitness, becoming Ellie, anything that in particular, appeals to you? Is it more of the food kinds of things or more of the activities? Is it talking to trainers and doctors or
Probably all of the above. I mentioned that, there's always new information coming out. And, when it comes to social media and a lot of the things you see in the headlines, sometimes it's kind of hard to know what to focus on and whether some of the information you read is based in research and based in good sound nutrition and maybe and I was thinking trying to think with movement like
it's hard to know in these days, like, as to even what is accurate. You read so many people come out and tell you things, and it's hard to know, is this actually I mean, is this just some person's opinion, or is this actually grounded in a real research thing or and if it was a research it's I don't go and explore all this, but, you hear about these studies that, it was on 10 people and and all the study is really supposed to point to is that maybe we need to do more research, but it gets picked up and broadcast all over, and the next thing you know, we're all jumping into cold water and I don't know, maybe cold water is good for us. I don't know. I just there's so many things that become trendy that I struggle with that.
right. And I guess that's one of the things that I feel like in the past you've had a lot of guests who have information that is based on more solid ground, but it's research based and has enough evidence behind it that it actually helps people. And I think that's one of the things I would like to also explore is ensure that the information that we're sharing has that kind of background and isn't just the latest trend because I think that's one of the things where we can help is trying to find people who have a good background in what they're discussing versus maybe just some influencer who caught wind of a good idea and it may not actually work out to be something that's helpful. And I think another thing is the good news is it seems like for the Becoming Ellie audience, there is a focus on older women, on perimenopause and menopausal women. But again, sometimes some of the information doesn't have a lot of backing. And it seems like there are people out there who are looking to take advantage of that and maybe just make some money off of it. And I think parsing through that and helping get to the foundational things that really do help is a good thing.
Yeah. And so I've been getting ads on my social media somewhere. But at any rate, I don't know what's going on in the marketing world, but the ads are for and I know these aren't for me because I'm not short, but they're the ads are for short, chubby women with big bellies. That's who they actually send me an email saying, "Here's clothes that will look great on short, chubby women with big bellies."
Oh,
Like, now who thinks this is a good selling feature?
Yes, I wouldn't think that would be a great message. I
That
don't
doesn't
know
have anything to
that.
do with what you were just saying, but it just struck me as, like, getting weird messages online. It was like, "Okay."
Yes, I don't think that was something I would open up or click on.
No, no. Well, it's useful sometimes to hear what people are talking about with some things that are new or trendy or whatever, because they are based on things do change, and that's interesting to me. But it's also easy to get really caught up in whatever the latest trend is.
Right, and I guess that's where I often get attracted to articles and information where they're trying to bust some of the myths or follow some people on Instagram where they're really trying to parse out what's true, what's helpful, and kind of dismiss some of the things that are a little more trendy and maybe not based on good research.
I'm excited that you're joining us because I think you'll have some new ideas for the podcast and website and our social media. And we'll figure out more about this as we go. But I am so glad that you have joined us. Those of you who are listening, if you have any thoughts on the future development of Becoming Ellie, please share them with us.
Yes, you can leave a message at becomingellie.com, or you can find us at Becoming Ellie on Facebook, Instagram, X, Pinterest, YouTube, and LinkedIn.
It was great having you join us today, Maria. Thank you so much for being here and talking.
Thanks for including me. I'm looking forward to doing more with the Fit Strong Women Over 50 podcast.
See you next time. Bye.
Bye.